Hey guys, back for the Randwick review here, so we'll just get stuck straight into it. We won't spend too much time on some of the lesser races. I guess Randwick was probably all about the Everest, so we'll spend a bit of time there. But so we'll go to the first highway consolation, and don't really want to say too much about the race. Don't give a damn. Dominant. SP to $1.70. Ran accordingly. What I will say about Randwick yesterday was that it was very, very on pace. I think there could have been 6 leaders out of the 10 races that won. As I went through it this morning, nothing really came from the back and made ground, especially out wide. So that's something you want to pay attention to going forward. So off the top of my head, we'll get to the races, but like Impending was something that ran on really well. He didn't go wide, he sort of cut through the field, but it was a great run, I think, with the bias. Shitaka ran well considering the bias as well, but he's always hitting the line. And Vega Magic was huge. He came down the centre of the track after being wide, no cover. But we'll get to those races. Just something to pay attention to, that leaders were flattered, I think, and be a bit more forgiving of back markers that didn't make as much ground as you thought they might have. So Don't Give a Damn was in that leading position, but was the dominant horse as well. So look, he looks handy. Not sure what level he can get to, but not much to say about the race as I scroll through the field. Mike Haggerson was disappointing, but he was one of those ones who was trying to circle the field and come down the centre of the track. He was where my money was. I had a small stake on him, but disappointing. We'll go down to the 2-year-old race, the Vane Plate. I backed both Legend of Condor and the Snowden runner Munich. Munich was disappointing after being in the box seat, but Legend of Condor, Gerald Ryan, seemed to turn out these speedy 2-year-olds. He had Condor Heroes, obviously similar name to Legend of Condor, who's now 3. And I think Condor Heroes comes second in the race last week. I can't remember what it was called. The race for Formula 1. So he's got, he seems to have these speedy 2-year-olds, and Legend of Condor led and kicked and was pretty tough, to be honest, because Spin loomed up and thought it was going to go past it. But it was a good win on debut. Not much else to say. I guess Spin and Santos, they come second and fourth. They ran, and it was a Breeders' Plate, so it was a race I was looking for. They ran last week and ran well again. Stunts ran quite well from the Godolphin yard, but really we don't know how strong that race is yet. A lot of them are on debut. I definitely think Performer is the best 2-year-old I've seen so far. That's across the Melbourne races and Sydney. That looked a hot race, the Breeders' Plate last week, with Performer winning, and I think the second horse, Bondi, is very handy too. So they're the best 2 that I've seen so far, so that's something you might want to pay attention to going forward. We'll go down to the Reginald Allen. I was on A on Air, and she was very disappointing. It was a pretty poor ride, Jamie Spencer, to be honest. I'm going to be pretty critical. He was barrier 5 and he ended up 3 wide somehow with no cover. But either way, the horse was beaten 4.2 lengths, so no real excuse. Obviously, I was on the wrong horse. Got it wrong. Regimen was a bit of a sitting duck, although was favoured. On pace was favoured throughout the day. She had an extra 4.5 kilos than the rest. Torville, got the run through. I don't think there's that much to take out of this race. I don't think it was overly strong. Don't think there's much there. Maybe next preparation, Work Drinks is lightly raced. Regimen, I think it's its first prep still. There are probably 2 that could improve next preparation, but I don't think there's much there. So nothing really to follow from that race, if you ask me. We're going to race 4, the Anniversary Highway, and Suncraze did a good job. He's coming down the centre of the track, probably should have won. Corey Brown maybe got a bit too far back from the gate. Maybe I'm talking through my kick as well. I was on Suncraze, but good run after all that. Good run as well. The disappointing one was Pumpkin Pie, but it was given a bad ride by Bowman. He got into a tricky spot. She was the one who attracted a lot of money because she came out of the Everest lead up, the shorts. Coming out of the Everest lead up and going back to a highway race is, a big tick, and you get Bowman, big tick. But once again, not an overly strong race, and I don't want to spend too much time on the highway. Nothing really to take out of it. Suncraze is a good horse, and made ground on a day that was difficult to make ground from where he was. So he was probably the best runner of the race, if you ask me. We'll go down to the Star Mile, and I was against Invincibility at the price. Not that I didn't think she could win, I just thought she was too short, going 1300 to 1600 after a tough first up run. But great ride, Timmy Clark, box seat, presented well, too good. Louboutin has been running reasonably well in some, pretty solid races. Was suited by the bias, being on pace favours, and ran credibly for second. Harper's Choice ran reasonably well, so I mean the top three all had a case. It was a pretty open race. Suchet, he's just not hitting a lot. He's running on well, but he's just not looking likely really. I don't think I could back Suchet. He just looks like he's going through the motions. He's running into fourth, fifth, third, not looking likely to win. So I wouldn't be with him going forward. Oklahoma Girl, Jaminza were kind of forgive runs. I think they got back in the field and they got skittled there. He ran into a dead end, the same dead end. Not sure how well they were travelling. I don't know if they would have won or even placed from the position they were in, but I'm happy to forgive them, and especially if the market overreacts to their finishing position and that they were a fair way off the winner. They might be, odds you can back next start. So definitely forgiving of Oklahoma Girl and Jaminza, particularly on Oklahoma Girl, still early in her preparation, and I have a pretty good opinion of her, and I'm not going to change it based off yesterday's run. We'll go to the St. Ledger, and Big Duke started very short, $2.10. I had a nice ticket at $3.30. He looked the winner a long way out. It was a great ride by Abdallah, just behind the pace on the rail. Held him together as long as he could, and he proved too strong. Orvray ran very, very well and ran better than I thought he would, because I thought the race he come out of the broadside, the race with broadside, I think it was Admiral Jello. I thought it was a weaker race in the Metropolitan, but he ran very well along the rail. McAvoy, great ride again on him. They were clear. They beat third a long way. So, what do I make of Big Duke going forward? I know he's going to a Melbourne Cup, and I have a each way ticket at $41. I think he lacks a bit of class, Big Duke. I think he lacks, that X factor that some of the others have. We already know what he's got, Big Duke. But I think in his favour, he was Sydney Cup placed in the autumn. He runs the 2 miles, and he's with Darren Weir, who got Prince of Penzance to produce a big peak for the Melbourne Cup. And he's a better horse than Prince of Penzance. So, I like the stable, and I think he's going to go there rock hard fit with a lightish weight. If there's any rain around, he'll appreciate it. And the thing with the Melbourne Cup is, there's normally half the field don't run the trip out. And I think he'll run top 8 in the Melbourne Cup. Well, he's probably more likely to finish 5th, 6th, 4th, hopefully 3rd for my sake, or 2nd, or winning. But he's probably going to find a couple better. But he's probably a genuine 20 to 1 chance, which is what he is now. So he's running well. Orvray, not sure where he goes after this. He's in career best form for his Australian career. He'll probably go to Melbourne, Moonee Valley Cup maybe, which is where Big Duke's going. Once again, I think Big Duke's better than Orvray. So if I think Big Duke's outclassed in the Melbourne Cup, I think Orvray's going to be outclassed in the Melbourne Cup. But he's running well. The rest of them, I'm not going to follow them at all. Libran, there's no races for him for this preparation now. Who Shot the Barman? I thought he'd run a lot better than what he did. Not sure if they take him to Melbourne. He is 9 years old now. Very disappointing. I thought he would up in trip or weight swing on Big Duke. I thought he'd be in the finish, but he was beaten a long way. So the only 2 going forward you want to look at is Big Duke and Orvray. Sydney Stakes, in her time, PR'd again. Perfect ride from Corey Brown behind the pace, and she's running well. She's had 2 great rides this preparation. She's winning and she's running well. So she's a very good mare. She's going to go to the Manikato, and I'm on at 15s because I knew that she wasn't going to get a run in the Everest, and they confirmed the Manikato as their target. So I jumped on there. She's in the 6s now today. So I've got myself an overs ticket, but I think she isn't up to a horse like Vega Magic, who has been confirmed as going there too. So that's a heads up. Vega Magic, I think, will SP about $2.50 in the Manikato. There's about $3.50, $4 around still now. He has been. He opened $6 today, and he's moved in with the news that he's going to be going there next. So that's a tip for the punters. Vega Magic Manicato, you can probably still get 350, and he'll start shorter than that, and be hard to beat. So in her time, running well, impending, probably biggest black book of the day for me at Randwick. Flashing light, barrier 17, first up over 1200, went back, flashed through. Very keen to see where he goes next. I think 1400 is probably his ideal trip. He might go to a Dali Classic, and he's not without a hope, but he hasn't been up the straight before, and he's going to be versing probably Red Zell and Vega Magic, and I don't know if he's as good as them. But if you can find a suitable 1400 metre race, I'd be very keen to back him. Ball of Muscle, he's running as well as ever. He's been mighty tough up on pace. I'm keen to back him if he can find a 1000 or 1100 metre race without horses like In Her Time, Vega Magic, Red Zell. He's obviously not as good as Am. He's only getting beaten by them by a length, so I really want to back him in a slightly easier race over maybe slightly shorter. But he's running super. Not much else to say about the rest. Washington Heights has had a great preparation, probably due for a spell. He wasn't suited 1500 back to 1200 yesterday, and he was back in the field as well. Takedown, maybe his winning days are over at this level. I'll have to watch a replay again. Darren beaten a long way. I think Darren, if you're going to back Darren, he needs a wet. Darren on a wet track is a different horse. So if he can find a wet track, I'd be keen to back him as well, even though he was disappointing yesterday. That's it really. Impending going forward. Ball of Muscle, slightly shorter and easier. In Her Time, she's running as well as ever. She's a bit off a horse like Vega Magic though. And Darren, if he can get a wet track, I'll be happy to back him. Everest, Red Zell. I was on Red Zell and Vega Magic, so I think I got the race right. Vega Magic probably wins this race 7-8 times out of 10, I think, when it's run. He clearly is a big animal. He paraded well. He was just ridden poorly. Craig Williams, he might have been following instructions to get cover, but this horse needs to go forward, and I think if he sits 3 wide outside the lead with Red Zell, I think he wins. Punting's always easy the next day anyway. But he was super, and he's been confirmed for the Manicato and going to the Dali. I'd rather back the Manicato at 350 because I know it's his next start than back him at the Dali at $5 because I don't think Red Zell's going to the Manicato, but Red Zell is going to the Dali, I think. So I think he will find a harder field in the Dali, and he hasn't been up the straight, and he's got a run before it. So I would rather take slightly less odds for the run I know he's going to next. But he's going to be mighty hard wherever he goes. He's a super horse, best sprinter in the country. Probably followed by Red Zell, who'd be the second best sprinter in the country. What you got to love about Red Zell is he looks easy to ride. I don't know if he is, but he just goes to the lead, outside the lead, on the lead, kicks, runs honestly, never runs a bad one. He's won 6 in a row now. He's 2 before that, he came second, so he hasn't finished outside top 2 his last 8. And there's no excuses for him. He's with a great stable. I love the Snowdens. They turned him out in good order, and if you notice with Red Zell, they've got this pattern. They give him 4 weeks between runs, and they give him a trial in between as well. And he's done it his last couple, and it's just working a treat. They've really worked him out. Super horse. Bulletproof because he likes wet. He's handled heavy tracks before. He's run well up the straight, so Red Zell and Vega, I really want to be with them in any sprint race. I wouldn't back anything to beat them, including Chautauqua, who ran well, but he ran well into 4th, which is what I expected him. I expected him to hit the line for 4th or 5th, and he did. People whinging about, he was unlucky, Abdullah should have come to the outside. But at the end of the day, people have got to realise when you're backing a horse like Chautauqua or even Royal Symphony, these horses can run into trouble. That's their racing pattern. And a horse like Red Zell can be forgotten, but Red Zell, you got to take that into account in price. So I'd rather back Red Zell at $7 than Chautauqua at $5 every day of the week because Red Zell's 8 lengths in front of him in the run. Chautauqua can run into bad luck. He's got to get the right tempo. I'd rather be on Red Zell every day of the week, and if Chautauqua beats me, I'll cop it on the chin. He's a super horse. I'm not taking anything away from Chautauqua. He's a great sprinter. His statistics, the races he's won speak for themselves, but he's not going to win every start. He can't. He's not going to be a Black Caviar type record because of his racing pattern. So He ran well though. Brave Smash ran well. He was suited by, he had a great run. Jamie Spencer gave him a great ride, and he placed at big odds. Tulip ran out of his skin. I backed her in the Coolmore because she's $17. It's an open race. I'm not saying she's a good thing in the Coolmore, but she's just run 2.6 lengths behind Red Zell. Now she goes back to 3-year-old grade, and she's a good sprinter. All the 1200 metre form is very good. $17 for the Coolmore's over. She's probably got the ability to SP $7 or $8 based off that run. I don't think your rank and file punters are going to look through the form guidance and go, shit, Tulip 2.6 lengths behind Red Zell and 1.8 lengths behind Vega Magic. I'm keen to back her. So I had a nibble there. English ran okay, probably about her level. She's probably a little bit below the Vega Magics and Red Zells. Hootson wasn't beaten too far. She's going to a Coolmore too, but I'd rather be on Tulip at 17 than Hootson at 9. Tulip beat Hootson home. And I think Hootson's going to be a sitting shot up the straight when the pressure goes on a bit earlier than normal. Deploy was a bit disappointing. He probably just couldn't handle the pressure. I think the races before that leading into it, he just sees complete control of his races, and he's been beating horses like Dixie Blossoms, who are very good horses, but they were first up and looking for further. I think he just caught them at the right time. And he's a good sprinter, but I think he needs control of a race, and I don't think he's up to those as well. Redkirk Warrior, don't know what he is. I know he is very good up the straight, so what do you do with him going into a Dali? I mean, he's going back to hit the scene of the crime for his two 1200 metre wins. So they're positives, but he's coming off a disappointing run here. I don't know if I could back him to beat Red Zell or Vega Magic, even if he is suited back to his favoured track and distance. Sheila Rain apparently had a bit of an injury. She will go for a spell. Not sure how good she is. She was very good first up in the Moya Stakes, but I was against her in the Everest because she was going 1,000 to 1,200, not the ideal setup. And I'm not sure the form out of the Moya was any good because she beat Vidora, who would have SP'd about $40 yesterday. But she'll go for a spell. She can run well again first up next prep. Just depends who she's versing. I'm not going to back her to beat Vega Magic or Red Zell. Then Fell Swoop's cooked. He's done. His best form's behind him. Craven Plate and Happy Clapper started $1.45. Well, the $1.20 on the tote it says here, which is ridiculous. The query with him, Happy Clapper was way better than anything in that race, but the thing with him is he's had 4 starts at 2,000 metres and he's come third once. And I will admit, those 2,000 metre runs are Cox Plates, Queen Elizabeth's, their highest level, they're Winx races. So you can't read too much into his failures there because he's versing a much easier field at 2,000. But, a horse like Classic Uniform, I'm not saying I didn't find him, I didn't back him. I backed Star Exhibit each way and I'm a bit disappointed because he just got beaten in the third. He come fourth. But Happy Clapper was slightly suspect at 2,000, and when you're backing something at $1.45, you want to make sure every single box is ticked. In Classic Uniform was a track and distance winner the start before, and he's tough. He was suited by the on-pace bias of the day. So at $22, in hindsight, it's like, okay, if someone found him, kudos, because you could make a case for him to run well at each way odds. The ride by Blake Shin, I think, easy to say now, but I think the reason he went further back than midfield and Happy Clapper was because of that 2,000 metre query. I think he was worried that Happy Clapper is running on empty at the end of 2,000 metres and didn't want to be too close to the speed. But when you want to ride your $1.45 favourite as the best horse in the race, box seat, especially from gate 1, and especially when there's an on-pace bias. So there was a queer investigation into the ride. I'm not sure what's going to come out of it. He's probably just going to say exactly what I said about why he decided to ride Happy Clapper the way he did. I'm going to be against Happy Clapper in the Cox Plate. He's the same odds as Galo Chop. I'd rather back Galo Chop to place behind Winx than Happy Clapper because I don't think Happy Clapper is a 2. I think he's a miler, and I think that was shown yesterday. So out of the race, nothing else to follow. Classic Uniform is honest. He ran a great race, but that's as good as he's got. Star Exhibit, first time in Sydney, ran okay. It was more a case of explaining why Happy Clapper didn't win, and I think I've done that. Race 10, and this is a bit of a non-affair. I mean, Grand Condors paid $102 to win this race. I don't like anything out of it. I'm very wary of this form going forward. It was a pretty weak race. The fact that Grand Condor won says enough about it. Picked Me Up comes second. You know, a lot of these are Hawkesbury horses, Wednesday horses, and that's the way I'm going to play them going forward. Not going to back them on a Saturday race. Machine Gun Jubs lost the jockey. Bowman fell off. Maybe would have won the race. I'm not sure if Bowman stayed on, but that's the only one you could say maybe it's got a bit of ability going forward, because it was pretty much, it didn't run because Bowman fell off. So hated race 10. Don't take anything going forward out of it. So that's it, guys. I'll just do a quick summary again of the runners to follow out of Randwick. Don't Give a Damn's a nice horse. Not sure where it's going to go to next. That's race 1. Race 2, I think these 2-year-olds are inferior to the Breeders' Plate runners last week. Legend of Condor's probably got the most upside considering it won. And the horses that beat Spin and Santos already had a run under his belt. So you'd say out of those 3, Legend of Condor's got the most upside. But I don't think it'll be beating Performer or Bondi. Race 3 I don't like as well. I think the form's not going to stack up out of it. Work Drinks and Regimen have a bit of ability to progress next preparation, but don't like the race either. Race 4, the Highway, Suncraze, I think is the best horse in the race, was the best run of the race. Not sure he's got the ability to progress beyond a Highway. So we'll move on from that as well. Not too much to follow so far. Race 5, the Star Mile, I'm happy to forgive Oklahoma Girl. And Jaminza, but more to the extent of Oklahoma Girl, because she's got upside and she's still a young horse, early 4-year-old, and she's still early in her preparation. So I'm happy to forgive her going into next start, and I'm hoping the bookies sort of dismiss her a little bit off that run. Don't back Chouchet again. He's just not hitting the line, looking like he's going to win. Louboutin, that was its chance, I think. And Invincibella's a nice mare. She's having, as a 4-year-old mare, she's running really well. Not sure what level she can go to going forward. She might be able to find a nice mares race at Group 2 level, something like that. She might even find herself down in the Maya, Group 1 Maya Classic at Melbourne Cup Week. Don't think she's up to a horse like Fox Play. So we'll move on from that. St. Ledger Stakes, Big Duke and Orvray, the only 2 to follow. Orvray can probably be competitive in a similar race again. Moonee Valley Gold Cup. Probably got none in a Melbourne Cup. Big Duke, I think, can run top 8 Melbourne Cup. Lacks a bit of class. $21 he is now for the Melbourne Cup. It's probably his right price. Good horse. Probably needs a bit of rain. You can forget Who Shot the Barman. You can forget Libran, Chicante, the Beaten Brigade. I think they've got no upside this preparation. Sydney Stakes, in her time, running well. I think she hasn't got that much improvement in her. I think this is her level, which is a good level. But she's going to be running into some hot horses in the Manicato. Impending's probably the black book of the day. I think really want to follow him going forward, but he needs to strike the right race, because if he comes up against Vega Magic or Red Zol, he's probably in a bit of trouble. But stepping up next start to a 1400, I'm very keen to back him. Ball of Muscle, follow as well. Hopefully back in distance slightly to 1000 or 1100 in a slightly weaker race without those horses I've mentioned, and he can probably win. The only thing with Ball of Muscle is he doesn't win. He runs honest races, but he's running as well as ever. Washington Heights has had a great prep. I want to see him go for a spell, and I want to be on him next preparation as well. Takedown finished, I think, as a... he's not running that badly, but I just think his winning days are over at this level. The Everest, Red Zell, super horse. How can you not like him? You know what you're getting when you back him, and he'll be hard to beat in whatever sprint race he contests. Vega Magic, probably run of the day. Those 2 are, for me, the best sprinters in the land. I will back Vega Magic to beat Red Zell next time they meet. But Red Zell is going to run honestly every start. So, and Vega Magic, if you can still get some good odds, Manicato, $354, I will jump on. That's my opinion. Chautauqua, look, Chautauqua is a good horse. I'm not sure, he's, how old is he now? I think he's about 6. He might still have another good prep or 2 in him, but I'm not going to back him to beat those 2 on-pace runners, Red Zell and Vega Magic. So back him at your own peril. He's a horse who's going to find trouble. He's going to be coming from impossible positions, and he might win 1 or 2 races, but I think it needs to be soft. So tread caution with Chautauqua. Needs it soft. Tulip, I've just told you I backed her in the Coolmore because she's going to be going back to 3-year-old grade. She ran very well. The rest of them, either ran as good as they've got or were a bit disappointing. So they're the ones you want following forward. Race 9, nothing to follow. I think Happy Clapper, I'm going to be against him the rest of this preparation if he stays at 2,000. If he comes back to a mile, he's a super horse. The rest of them don't have much upside in that race. And the last race, don't follow any of them because they're all camels. Follow, or maybe follow a pick me up back to Wednesday or a very weak Saturday race. He was only first up, but pretty poor race as well. So that's it for Randwick. Tough day for punters yesterday. At Caulfield and Randwick, a lot of roughies winning races. I found myself coming out on the right side, at least in the profit, mainly due to the 1,000 Guineas race. I had a great result there, and I had a very good result on the Everest as well. They were my best 2 races yesterday. But next video will be our preview for Caulfield Cup Day. So that we'll do our preview on Friday. Any questions, write into the page. We'll happily answer any questions on the videos. We want a bit of interaction between the audience and the page, and hopefully we can back a few winners either Wednesday or next weekend. So cheers guys, speak to you all next time.